Are you ready to rock and roll?
各位好，谢谢各位今天晚上对我们新加坡民主党的热烈支持。我是李娟，我今天晚上的发言会使用英语，希望大家能够理解我的意思。下个星期六是投票日了，在投票前，请认真考虑现在的行动党是否为新加坡的人民服务，还是从自己的立场做出政策决定。谢谢。Dear fellow Singaporeans, thank you for coming to listen to us today. Next Saturday is election day. Next Saturday, all of you will go to the polling station and make the most important decision in Singapore's history since independence. When you make that decision, you would do well to ask yourself, are you better off than you were 5 years ago? Is it easier for you to buy things in the store than it was 5 years ago? Is your children's future more secure than it was 5 years ago? Has your quality of life improved? Are you happier than you were 5 years ago? If the answer to these questions is yes, then, well, it is clear who you should vote for. If you don't agree, if you don't think that this course that we've been on for the last 5 years is what you would like to see us follow for the next 5 years, then I could suggest you choose differently this time. We must not vote PAP again and again, because nothing will change. You have seen the results of the last 5 years. Please vote next Saturday for a different result. Some of you will notice that different opposition parties are echoing many of the same points. They are raising many of the same issues and problems with our government. This is because everyone recognizes these problems. Everyone can see these problems. Everyone, that is, except for the PAP. Singaporeans, take heed. We are at a crossroads. Instead of taking us to a first world standard of living, the ruling party is taking us further back into a third world standard of living. The state-owned media is not allowed to be objective, and our journalists are constrained. What is even worse is that the ruling party is starting to believe their own story and ignoring the truth. Nyam Tong Dao, a former high-profile perm sec, said in 2003 that the PAP has started to believe its own propaganda. He also said he wonders whether there will be a Singapore for his 3 grandchildren in 50 years' time. I share Mr. Nyam's worries. I would like to touch on the subject of the government's policy of importing foreign talent. Let me state, I am not against foreigners or immigration. I enjoy meeting people from all walks of life and from all over the world. But it is the speed of importation and the large numbers that are being imported that are disturbing. We must ask, why so many and why so quickly? Singapore is becoming a place where Singaporeans are strangers in our own land. In 1990, 20 years ago, foreigners made up 14% of the people in Singapore. In just 20 years, according to the latest United Nations report, foreigners now make up 40.7% of Singapore's population, almost 41%, as of mid-2010. The UN report said, this is far higher than any developed country in the world. Think about this. 41% of the people living in Singapore are not Singaporeans. We are not London or Hong Kong, where they have citizens in the rest of England or the rest of China to balance out the foreigners. The government admitted that half of all the jobs created last year went to foreigners. That's 58,000 jobs created for foreigners last year. Now we are told that we need another 900,000 foreign workers on work permits. How many are enough? Perhaps, like the salaries for PAP ministers, it will never be enough. Again, I have lived in the UK and Hong Kong and have many friends who are from all over the world. I'm not against foreigners. But with the recent policy of bringing in large numbers of foreigners quickly, I ask myself, why is the government bringing in so many foreigners so quickly? Is there a reason that we have not heard about? Let's think about this together. In countries like England and Canada, it has been found that new immigrants will vote for the incumbent government. If that is true, that means the new citizens in Singapore will cast their vote for the PAP. The PAP knows this. It has been actively recruiting PRs and new citizens into their youth wing and grassroots organizations. Some of the new PAP candidates fielded in this election are newly minted citizens who are 100% behind the PAP. I hope the Temasek Review will not mind if I quote from their excellent article. The mainstream media is full of reports of construction workers, cleaners, masseurs, nursery teachers, and even freelance prostitutes being given Singapore PR and citizenship. A Wall Street Journal editorial in January reported that the relentless influx of foreigners has depressed the wages of ordinary Singaporeans, increased the cost of living, and led to an overall decline in the standard of living. My friends, this is the reality. Last year, 20,500 foreigners were given Singaporean citizenship, and 80,000 others offered PR status, both record numbers. They have never been so high before. Fewer than 40,000 Singaporean babies are born every year. And at the same time, a Singapore Poly survey, also done last year, showed that 60% of our youth who are younger than 23 think of emigrating. Our own young people want to leave. Instead of importing foreigners, we should be creating an environment where our own people want to stay, and where Singaporean families have the time, money, and support to have children. If we as a society fail to keep our own people and look after them, we have failed to create a Singapore identity, and our government will ultimately have failed in its efforts to build a nation. For what is a nation but for its people, the people who call it a home and not a hostel? Singapore is a country, not a factory. We should be building our society so that people stay and contribute rather than replacing us like factory workers. Singaporeans are intelligent, well-educated, and creative. We can do better at creating a Singapore where Singaporeans feel at home, where our own people generate most of the economic value, where entrepreneurship and creativity are allowed to flourish, and where Singaporeans participate actively in civil society. Later on, Mr. Tan Ji Se will tell you more about his economic plan. We at SDP have a plan for Singapore. Singapore's GDP growth figures for the last year are very high. You know why?
Because we work hard.
Because of the casinos. According to Channel News Asia, Singapore was the second fastest growing economy in the world last year. For the whole year, Singapore's economy grew by 14.7%. How many of you feel that you grew richer by 14.7% last year? According to a letter published in today's Straits Times, it took the last 10 years just for middle-income salaries to grow by the same 14%. But our ministers' salaries are in an entirely different category altogether. Some figures indicate that the salaries for the ruling elite have just been raised by another 20% or more for the year alone. I think our ruling party has let the people of Singapore down. It has failed to deliver on its promises 5 years ago. Allow me to remind you of PAP's 2006 election manifesto. Do you remember the title? It was Staying Together, Moving Ahead. Instead, since 2006, the ruling elite has moved ahead and ordinary Singaporeans have been left behind. The manifesto should have been entitled instead, You All Stay Together, PAP Will Move Ahead. PAP promised us a better life for all. They promised to create opportunities for all Singaporeans, give our young the best start, encourage every citizen to play a role, do more for lower income Singaporeans, and provide affordable healthcare for all Singaporeans, among other promises. You all can judge for yourselves how many of these promises they fulfilled. For many years, we entrusted the ruling party with absolute power with the understanding that they would be benevolent and take care of us. Perhaps they did before, but too many today feel this is no longer true. As Spider-Man fans know, with great power comes great responsibility. Yes, you know it. Let's say it again. With great power comes great responsibility. Exactly. Yet the government today are not holding up their end of the bargain. It would be too much to hope for change to come from within the ruling party. We have seen many go in with good intentions. They have been powerless to do anything and have in fact become part of the system, a system that now takes care only of itself. On polling day, do not think that other people will vote for the opposition. The opposition only had 2 seats before, despite working so hard for so long. We need to win some GRCs. We need to win some GRCs so that there are more checks and balances in Parliament to speak for you, the people of Singapore. We need more voices to make a difference, and now is the time to do your part, Singapore. Please vote SDP for Sembawang GRC. Thank you.